Right, when you are, yeah.
Cool. Well, I've only got 2 copies, unfortunately. But there you go. Right. So when we started the project, I sort of had that preconception of what a magazine is. It's like that glossy, like weekly you get from Smiths or from Tesco, and I was stuck with the idea for so long, and it actually took me all the way until the week before our presentations to come up with the idea of like having someone's journey on the pages of the magazine. And even then I sort of kept thinking that it's going to have a lot of content, it's going to have to look like this and that, but then I started looking into like In the Belly of St. Paul and like other like typography publications. It just sort of clicked that it doesn't have to be quite as like built up. And I sort of altered the look of it, like going from the gritty look to something a lot like legible, because when you look at the top typefaces, it's just like you can't really read it, and I thought that it's not worth it just going for that kind of look, even though it really was tempting and it would have in a way brought the message across even more that the person is distressed and scared for their life. And commercial side, I still want to go on with an online printer. I know a printer that does a batch of 200 copies for 150 quid, so it will be really sort of cost effective to print it out, but it will lose the sort of handmade feel of it in a way. And I still want to keep it environmental friendly, so it will be with recycled paper. I don't think the examples I've got are, unfortunately. The wallpaper covers are in a way second hand because it was just a used scroll. And I did a bit of sampling with my target audience. It was a really, really tiny sample. It was only like 10 people, and I really should have put more time into it, because that would have given me a lot more valuable feedback to sort of improve on my final product and get the proper sort of feel to it and see how the audience responds. And it's been a lot of new software, hardware. I've never used a Mac in my life before September, and InDesign has been new to me as well, and it's been really rewarding to do this project because I've got a massive skill set now I can take advantage of when I go to the job market as well. And there's been a lot of magazine related skills that we've learned as well, like grid systems, columns and all that sort of stuff. And on level 3 we made a magazine, but we did it with Photoshop, so doing columns was horrible because you had to line them up by hand. But now that we've been using InDesign, it's been so easy to just set the columns from the word go and get on with it. And I didn't really use the columns as such. I used Gerstner's 58 unit grid system, and it's given me the opportunity to really place every little detail in specific places, and I think it brings a lot of symmetry to the design, and I really, really like it. And production process, it's been a lot of responsibility. I haven't sort of done this much before. It's been a lot of different tasks we've been set, and job roles as in researching, taking pictures, being a journalist in a way, even though my product doesn't quite have that journalism effect to it as such. And it would have been really helpful to work with a social and welfare worker, because they deal with mental health, homelessness and abuse. So getting their experiences into the product would have been really helpful, and I think that is something that really lacks in my product because it is just fiction. Having a real person tell their story would have been a lot more effective to get my message across. And I made the conscious decision to leave the page numbers out as well, because is a journal, is not a conventional magazine at all, and I thought that leaving them out will just enhance the feeling of it being an actual journal. I did have a lot of time constraints. Sorry. My time management was horrible, and it is something definitely to take on to the next project and just schedule my time a bit better. Even today I was running really short on time, unfortunately. And sketchbooking has been one of those time constraints as well. I'm not used to doing it and is lacking a lot of things, unfortunately, especially my development and ideas, which would have been really useful to have in there just to show what I've done so far and why. And I did a few experiments as well, mainly just like finding tests, and then at the start of the sort of development I made a journal that I wanted to scan in and use as my base, but eventually when I picked the more clean approach to my product, I just ditched the idea because it didn't match with the feel I was going for. And editorial outcome wise, I do think that it brings my message across really well. It is emotional, it shows how the person is scared, shows their journey through being homeless and regaining everything in a sense. And it's simple. I wanted to create a lot of negative space. There's a certain hierarchy each page. There's a word or a few words that create the atmosphere for the entire page. And I received a lot of regular feedback, and it really did help to make my product a lot more professional and sort of accessible to the reader as well. And typography wise, the typeface I picked is called Old Style, and there's 3 different variations of it. There's the normal Old Style, there's italic, and small caps it's called. In a way, I missed the opportunity to use the typefaces we created with Illustrator and FontStruct, but they just didn't sort of meet with my idea and the general feel of the product. And I did a small experiment with handwritten type as well, but I just didn't feel like it fit well with the entire concept, so I didn't end up using it. That is just Times New Roman copied through by using a lightbox. And there's my bibliography as well. And legal and ethical wise, I forgot to make a slide, but I have matched all copyright issues by making sure that it's all my own product, and it's not going to be too offensive to anyone apart from a few swear words, so if that is sort of something you take offence to, then it won't be a product for you, really. Yeah. And funnily enough, I've got no questions because I'm just happy to get this done.
Questions, Andy?
Why lack of imagery?
I did consider putting pictures in, but it didn't quite match with the idea I had, because in the belly of St. Paul it's got very little imagery as well, so I wanted to mimic that look.
Is it thoughtfully done, or was it time constraints done? The reason no imagery?
Time constraints, yeah. It's just poor planning.
So you would have ideally put?
Yeah, a few. Not too many. I had a plan to put hand-drawn imagery in the sort of middle spread, but I had to dump that idea because I just didn't have the time to finish it off.
Okay. Thanks for your honesty.
The colour of the paper, the choice.
Yeah, there was a choice between that and white. and I end up going for the cream because it looks a bit more weathered and old, because the white would have looked a bit too pristine for the general feel of the product.
I just wondered if you'd made the choice because it's the colour of paper that you use for dyslexia.
Is it?
Yeah, for writing dyslexic print on.
All right.
But then of course the writing can be quite
Mm.
small, so of course it goes against that idea. But I wondered if it was a
Yeah, I wasn't aware of
choice
that.
for any kind of digital media requirements or
Yeah.
anything like that. But it's a great colour anyway, like emotionally. But I just wondered if it was a response towards your character in your story.
Yeah, it's just what I preferred.
Aesthetic choice. No,
Yeah.
that's fine.
Other missed opportunities, ways you think you could develop this product. Let's call it a prototype right now.
I would like to make a hardback and experiment with like the binding a lot more. I didn't really have the time for that either. I've got a few examples in my sketchbook, but it's
Why
just
is the really important part to
because
get to?
I really think it would work better if it was saddle stitched instead of PVA glue, because it would allow for a bit more wear and tear than that does.
So that would be the reason for the hardback.
Yeah.
And the reason for including the imagery?
I really wanted to sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? Engage the reader a bit more, include that worn out alleyway where people might live if they're homeless, and just sort of make them realise what life's like if you're homeless.
So, I mean, it's really experimental in nature for a lot of the audience. I guess not for your art and design and media
Yeah.
student or teacher, but we're in absolutely the minority of, and you want to kind of capture
Yeah.
and sell this product. Do you think it would promote the product to the audience if there was like some sort of illustrations or images?
I think it will make it a bit more interesting for people, because just looking at the typography might feel too bland for the majority of people who might pick it up.
I guess it's quite difficult balancing being experimental and wanting to create something innovative with also being commercial.
Yeah, definitely it's a challenge.
So what commercial things were you thinking about during the design of the typography?
Well, I was just mainly concerned about where to sell it, and I just couldn't quite place it. And now at the moment it's just hoping that people are interested during the launch party, and that's pretty much all I'm relying on. And is another thing I didn't really have the time to get into, even though I really wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
Hello.
Any questions, Dave?
Did you do any market research on this related to your target audience?
Not really.
Most
I
do.
skimmed through it at the presentation, just sort of possible places where I could sell that. And then I saw, with the feedback from Stuart as well, it wasn't like where he'd assume people who I'm targeting would go. So I was thinking about places who are environmental friendly, Lush and Body Shop, Belle Isle and Waterstone. And Waterstone was only like the place where he thought that
Did you
my
take
target
it?
audience
Did you
would
have
go.
time to take it to any of those places? and get
No, I didn't.
How do you think that might help you develop it?
It would have helped me so much. I'd have such a clear idea about where to sell it now if I had the time.
Thanks for the cheers.
We're going to have to wrap up there, but thank you ever so much.